Hey, Black family. Have you all ever heard of Black American generational trauma or historical trauma or intergenerational trauma? Well, that is what I want to teach you on today. It refers to the psychological and emotional effect of traumatic experiences that were passed down from one generation to the next, okay? These effects often stem from events such as systemic oppression, slavery, genocide, war, colonization, Jim Crow, all that. For Black Americans, this trauma is deeply rooted in the legacy of slavery, segregation, ongoing, even up today, ongoing racial discrimination. So let me break this down. You know how when you go to the doctor, they ask all of your family's history. The reason they do that is because they want to know what has been passed on into you, your DNA. So it is so absurd when I hear people say, particularly some white people, to debunk the whole fact that how slavery has impacted us even today. To say it does not affect you because we know trauma not only affects us mentally, but also physically. It gets into our bodies, our DNA. It impacts us and our decisions. And so think about, as a Black person, I'm a 53-year-old woman. I think back to in my household growing up, my father and my mother, both from the South, they endured a lot, particularly my father. I believe he had a harder childhood when it came to white people than my mother did. And so grew up in the house hearing those stories that he passed on, that his father told him about his experience with white people and my father's experience with white people in the time, and then it's passed on and now to me. So now they have not, those stories are implanted into me. And so my experience with how and the reality of what white people have done to us as Blacks is traumatic, not only based on the truth of what they did in the past, but then in present day, how I still see it going on. So when you still see the traumas happening to you, you're re-traumatized all over again. It's just like if you were sexually abused as a child, you're no longer a child, but then again, your abuser is still there present in your face. You're still reliving the trauma. And so as Black people, this is why I said we got to give ourselves some grace, and we got to pat ourselves on the back because we've come pretty damn far. I mean, we are freaking resilient. We didn't stop. We kept going. And see, that's the thing. Many times, and I know this personally from my own experience, I am so hard on myself. I do not give myself grace. I am a perfectionist, and it's awful. And as Black people, because we have been told we have to be a certain way and we have to be better than a white man to get ahead, which is true, but that's so much pressure. So when do we ever debrief? When do we get away from always the fight or flight state that we stay in constantly? And then we wonder why we are plagued with so many illnesses that many other cultural groups are not. It's because, unfortunately, of the stress of just freaking living, being Black in America. So let's talk about the traits and signs of generational trauma in Black Americans. One way to find out if you have generational or these trauma is, one, you're hypervigilant. A heightened sense of awareness or caution, especially in interactions with authority figures or institutions. And this stems from historical experiences of danger and oppression where survival required constant vigilance. It's so true. Always on edge, always watching your back. I mean, we experience that now. I do all the time. I'm nervous if the police get behind me. If I'm in the store, white people that following, the salesperson, if you go in these high-end stores thinking you're going to steal, it's like, damn, give me a break. Even some restaurants you go to, some of the waiters hate to wait on, white people hate to wait on Blacks because they think we're not good tippers. All right, the next, internalized oppression. That's point number 2. If you find yourself feeling of unworthiness, self-doubt, or believing in stereotypes perpetrated by systemic racism, for instance, colorism within the Black community, where lighter skin is often valued over darker skin, it reflects an internalized white supremacist attitude and a standard of beauty. Do you fall prey of that? That's still that generational trauma. From the plantation, remember the light-skinned Blacks in the house or were treated better. Darkies outside. All right, number 3, the fear of trusting institutions. Distrust in a healthcare, education, law enforcement, and financial systems due to systemic discrimination. I just talked about that with the police. Also, as far as with financial institutions, remember when they were writing bad loans or not approving loans for Blacks? or giving us the worst type, or the worst, these arm loans. Examples include the medical mistrust, the black mortality rate, maternal mortality rate. Women are dying, black women giving birth quicker than any other race. Rooted in unethical practices like the Tuskegee experiment, the syphilis study. Remember where they told those black guys that they were injecting them with something and they giving them syphilis? Or reluctance to call the police due to fear of racial profiling. A fourth area to see if you suffer from generational trauma is financial anxiety and the scarcity mindset. Now, this one I battle with badly, y'all. It's a focus on survival rather than wealth building, often tied to a history of economic disenfranchisement, like redlining. Remember I talked about that, how the U.S. government would not back certain loans that will be given to blacks who live given to blacks, period, back in the day. Or lack of generational wealth. I mean, we got 400 years we got to catch up to. White folk had land. We didn't have the land. And when we did have the land, many of it was stolen. And so we already started behind the 8 ball comparing to white folk. So we said that the focus on the wealth building, anxiety, scarcity mindset, the poverty mindset. Mama always lived in the projects. I got to live in the projects. Mama always been poor. I got to be poor. No, we got to change those mindsets, y'all. The fifth way to test yourself is suppressed emotional expression. Many black families emphasize resilience and strength, leading to avoidance of vulnerability or emotional expression. Phrases like "what happens in this house stays in the house," discouraging seeking help for mental health struggles. And that is so true. So many times we black people suffer in silence. Y'all have heard it. What happened in this house, stay in this house. Don't be airing our dirty laundry, our dirty business out there. But at what expense? Do you know how mentally messed up we are? I got all these degrees and businesses and blah, blah, blah. But yet I still sit there in my therapist's office at least once a week crying from childhood traumas. So I was able to achieve, but yet emotionally, I'm a wreck. Do you understand, as black people, we have got to stop doing that. We have to unpeel the onion. I sit here now and I think, oh my God, my generation, we need to be the curse breakers. Because I think how our parents really needed therapy. You know what I'm saying? Think about our parents. If you have lived through slavery, Jim Crow, civil rights, your mind, can you imagine the fight or flight, the constant tensed up, always checking around, watching your back? As Malcolm X used to say, he never sat anywhere with his back to the door because he always got to had your head on a swivel. That's stress. So I'm going to stop here because I like to take these in 10 minutes or less. But the next, I'm going to do a part 2 because I have 5 more areas to know that if you suffer from generational trauma due to being a black American. So thank you all again for supporting these videos. Listen, on YouTube, please like, share, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you can know when I upload new videos. If these videos are helping and blessing you, leave a comment and let me know, please. And hey, you can always buy me coffee because I like coffee. All right, talk to y'all soon. Be blessed. Bye.